Hey, friends, welcome back to another episode of the Seed Talk with Lisa and Lane. Hey, Lane.
Hello.
Lane, what are we talking about today?
So we've been getting a lot of questions about Sweet William and two varieties in particular. There's a series called Amazon that's very popular, and there's a series called Sweet. And people are wondering, what is the difference between these two Sweet William series? And do I need both? So today we're just going to walk through some of the main differences that we tend to notice, and that will help you decide if you want to plant one or the other or even both.
And I grow them all, y'all. Sweet William is a super hardy, easy to grow, in demand crop. And I grow them all because they all have attributes that I need and want.
Yeah. And can you just describe Sweet William briefly for someone not familiar with the flower?
Sure. So Sweet William, some of them are fragrant, some of them are not. But they are a spring blooming. A lot of people may even know what pinks are. That's something here in our part of the country. That's a low growing. Dianthus is the family name of Sweet William, and there are so many different varieties of Dianthus. That's where the confusion also comes in. But they're fragrant. They're spring bloomers and just totally and they come in a variety of colors as well. So we just love them in spring. Butterflies love them, pollinators love them, flower farmers love them, as florists love them. They're just a great flower.
Yeah. And they have these flower heads with a bunch of florets on them, and they almost have the look of like a small hydrangea, a mop head hydrangea. Yeah.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, they're really, really beautiful. Okay, let's get into our comparison. Okay, let me start by describing what is similar about both of these. So Sweet William in general is winter hardy to USDA Zone 5. Both Amazon and Sweet are hybrids, and both of them are first-year flowering. They don't require vernalization or a cold period to bloom. So you could plant these in very early spring, for example, and still get blooms that year. Whereas the traditional Sweet Williams are biennials, and they need to be planted the year before to go through a cold period so that they will actually bloom the following year.
Exactly.
And the species name for the Sweet series is Dianthus barbatus. And for the Amazon series, it's Dianthus X barbatus, or sometimes you'll see it written Dianthus barbatus interspecific.
Right.
Okay, so now the first thing I want to mention that's a bit different is the actual flower form. So if you're watching over on YouTube, we have Sweet on the left and Amazon on the right. And it might be a little difficult to tell from the picture, but Sweet definitely has a more rounded ball-like form, whereas Amazon has a little bit of a branchier head, right, Lisa?
Yeah, and that's the really big difference. Well, there's a couple of big differences, but that's one of what I love. I love it both forms. They both have their place. Amazon is takes up more space in a bouquet. It fills up a bunch for a florist. They're just a nice filler flower, where Sweet is that more of that ball, and it just adds that amazing pop of color.
Right. Okay, and another really big difference I wanted to bring up is the bloom time. So Sweet actually blooms earlier than Amazon. If you're looking just at the days to maturity, for Sweet, it's 100 to 105, and Amazon is around 105 to 120. Now, if you're fall planting these Sweet Williams, the days to maturity doesn't mean as much in terms of the actual numbers, but it's still useful to compare to see which one is an earlier bloomer. And you can tell by those numbers that Sweet is an earlier bloomer. So I'm going to ask you, Lisa, in the garden, how much earlier does Sweet start blooming compared to Amazon in terms of weeks?
Sure. So when you fall plant, yes, it kind of messes with that count, right? Because plant in the fall, they get established and then they go into dormancy through winter. And that is our the largest volume of plants that we plant are always fall planted of the Dianthus family, because that you get the tallest, most abundant stems the following spring. So when we fall plant Amazon and Sweet, basically about the same time in the fall, the normal planting time, Sweet starts blooming several weeks, 3 weeks before Amazon starts to bloom. And that was the really big benefit to us, is we have yet another earlier bloomer in the garden. And because Sweet comes in so many different colors, it's a real benefit. And then Amazon right when that first planting of sweet starts to kind of slow down a little bit, that's when the Amazon seems to really kick into gear. So it works out really perfect for us. We also do not typically plant sweet again in very early spring, because for us to get stem length that we're happy with, they need that long established period. If you have a longer spring, that'll probably work great for you, but that's not what we experience.
Right. So planting both sweet and Amazon helps to extend your Sweet William season. And if you're watching over on YouTube, I'm showing two pictures that were taken on the same day. You can see the stage that Amazon was in, where it was still just budding up, not really any color to be seen yet. And sweet is practically in full bloom over there. So that's a great visual.
Yes.
And the height is also different, which also might have to do with the fact that sweet starts blooming earlier. So sweet is actually a bit shorter. Amazon tends to be around 18 to 30 inches tall. Sweet is more like 18 to 24.
Yes, and that's a great point. Anything that's early blooming doesn't have as much time to grow a tall stem, right?
Right.
And our Amazon is also part of one of its characteristics is that it's supposed to bloom and perform in more heat later into the season. And we still get really great stem height with succession plantings beyond very early spring.
So of the two, Amazon seems to be the most heat tolerant.
Correct.
And since sweet tends to be shorter, do you even pinch the plants, or do you leave them all unpinched to try to maximize that stem length?
We do not pinch sweet.
But you do pinch some of your Amazon plants.
We follow our rule of 50%. And something else that we're experimenting with in this coming year is we're planting sweet closer together. It follows the tradition 4 rows in a 30-inch bed to try to get less stems, but bigger stems. So we're going to try that out and see how that works out this year.
All right. So you just said you pinch around half of your Amazon plants and you don't actually pinch your sweet plants. Do you see a big difference in productivity for that reason or for some other reason?
I think that it really depends on the growing conditions. So this particular year, we had great spring-like conditions, meaning cool temperatures and frequent rain. And we got more production out of sweet than we have ever had before. And I'm talking probably 4 to 6 to 7 good quality stems off of one sweet. Amazon, we never get, but probably maybe 2 to 3 of the really nice size heads. We'll get additional stems, but they aren't quite the size of the initial production on the plant.
Now, how about the fragrance? What is the fragrance differential between Amazon and sweet?
Yeah, so Amazon does not have any really fragrance to speak of, and sweet is not very strong. It's not like those classic biennial Sweet Williams that have such a strong fragrance. They're Sweet Williams.
Yes. Okay, now I want to move into the color selection, because this is another area where I think they are a little bit different. So on the screen now over on YouTube, we have the Amazon series. Amazon has a lot of pink and purple shades that are really pretty. So there's Amazon Neon Cherry, which is this really vibrant cherry red color, and also Neon Purple, which is a really intense purple tone. There's Rose Magic, which is a beautiful one with a variety of different colors on the heads at the same time. So the blooms start off white and then they age to a pink and then a deep rose shade.
Yeah.
And the mixture of all these colors just creates a really beautiful and magical look to the flowers, hence the name Rose Magic.
Yeah.
There's another one as well called Lavender Magic that's not pictured, but these all have that pink purple hue to them.
Right.
They're in that color family. So what was the most popular color for you, Lisa?
Well, I personally preferred purple, but customers didn't. The customers really, the sellout all the time was Rose Magic. We tried to have that as early and as late as possible. And if you had it for Mother's Day, you could sell hundreds of bunches of it.
Yeah, I have to agree with your customers. That is my favorite too.
Yeah.
And now we're going to move on to sweet. And the color selection is where I think sweet kind of sets itself apart from Amazon in terms of some colors you might be looking for. And the last time I checked, there were actually 13 different colors in the sweet series, believe it or not. So some of the colors are in that pink purple color family. So like Sweet Pink Magic, Deep Pink Maxine, Rose Magic, and Magenta Bicolor. But there are also some colors like Sweet White, Coral, Black Cherry, which is this beautiful dark, almost blackish red, and Scarlet. And all of those colors, the white, the coral, the black cherry, and the scarlet, those are not things you can really find in the Amazon series if those are colors you're looking for.
It's so true, Lane. That's a great point. And I remember when we were in the garden together and you were taking images, we couldn't stop taking pictures of that black cherry. I mean, it was the most luscious, beautiful. I mean, it's a flower you probably wouldn't make a whole bouquet out of it because it's so dark. But to have that alongside a pink or a white is just really, really beautiful. So you're just expanding your color options.
Right. And the white is just a beautiful, pristine white. That one's definitely a favorite.
White's just a great color.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, the dark, it's almost like a Scabiosa Black Knight or something.
Yeah.
Just having that little dark pop of color sometimes is fun at that time of year when it's not as common to see those types of colors.
For sure.
So did you actually grow Sweet when you were in high production?
I did not, only because it was borderline tall enough. And when you were cutting the volume of flowers that we were cutting every week, to have a short flower was really a pain point. And so we just actually dropped it.
So would you say Amazon was your top variety when you're in high production? I know there are some other ones that you also grow.
Yes. So definitely Amazon was the lion's share.
All right, so let me just do a quick summary of some of the key points we just talked about. If you're looking for a more rounded, ball-shaped bloom, that would be Sweet. If you'd like a more well-branched head that takes up more room in bouquets, you might want to give Amazon a try. If you are looking for pinks and purples and cherry red colors, you have options in both series. But if you want pure white or coral or deep blackish red, Sweet definitely has a wider selection of colors to choose from.
Yes.
If earlier blooms are a priority to you, even if the stems are slightly shorter, you might want to go with Sweet. But if you're looking for a little more heat tolerance and a bit more stem length in general, you might want to go with Amazon. And of course, you could always plant both, which is what I do and what Lisa does. And then you get the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
And then I just wanted to mention that there are a lot of other varieties of Sweet William as well, like Electron, Super Duplex, Dynasty, Bodastaltz, and maybe we can compare and contrast those in a future episode.
So we grow them all typically. I mean, they all contribute something different, whether there's a different color palette or their timing is a little bit different. Sweet William is an amazing cash crop, bouquet filler, commercial, in-demand crop. So you can never have too much.
Yeah. And each different variety has something a little bit special to offer. So there really is a benefit to growing a lot of different ones. Okay, well, that does it for our comparison of Amazon versus Sweet. Which ones will you be growing this year? Let us know in the comments if you're over on YouTube, or you can submit the form that's linked in the show notes if you want to let us know which one you are more drawn to. And thank you so much for joining us. As always, feel free to leave us a review and rating in a podcast app, and likes and comments over on YouTube. And always remember to subscribe or follow so you won't miss any of our episodes.
So thanks, Lane, for that little look into spring flowers. I just love seeing Sweet William. Sweet William is just a reliable, great flower. So thanks for highlighting that. So friends, remember, you can find us over at thegardenersworkshop.com. Until we meet again. Ciao.
Bye.